Hi, I'm Carolyn Grier, the head athletic trainer for the University of San Diego. I've been here since 1978 when I took over for Larry Roberts, who got the job as the head athletic trainer for the San Diego Clippers. I was hired for a 30-day interim position, and I got the chance to apply for the permanent position, and the rest is history on my longevity here. Well, my USD experience has shaped me as an individual because it provided me, as a young professional, an opportunity to build a program in sports medicine from the ground up. And through that experience, I have complete ownership of my area, and I feel that we have established a top-rate athletic training room. My personnel is wonderful, and we have created an atmosphere for our student athletes that is welcoming and athlete-centered in terms of their care. So it has shaped me professionally. It has shaped me personally because I have so much love for what I do and pride in what I do. It makes me come to work every day wanting to do everything I can, not only for the student athletes, but for the university. The athletic department at the University of San Diego was Division III. We were Division III in football and Division II in all other sports. Football's non-scholarship, and the Division II sports had some scholarships, but not fully funded. We were really not very good at anything. I just remember working a lot of events, and I came here and I thought, why don't we ever win? So watching the evolution of our athletic department going from a Division III football to football championship series, Division I football, and all the other sports, Division II to NCAA Division I, has been a wonderful journey, and watching how the evolution of not only the department, but the student athletes and how they've changed. And we've gone from being not very good to being consistent winners and representing our city very well. Athletes have changed over the years, and I'll start with something that is really important to me. When I was at college, I was an intercollegiate gymnast, and the NCAA did not exist for women at all. It was the AIAW at that time. And through this evolution, the NCAA added women's sports. And looking at USD, we didn't have very many women's sports, and we were not very good. And the recruiting was primarily on campus. And I remember our first women's basketball coach going on campus asking, who wants to play? Can you play? And my first year, we played San Diego State, the women's team, and the final score was 98-17. Now, we are consistently beating San Diego State in women's basketball. Our women's teams are making the NCAAs. We are consistently in the NIT. So for me as a former intercollegiate athlete, watching how the opportunities for women have evolved and looking at how our women on this campus have evolved athletically from really not being very good to these women are smart, they're beautiful, they're athletic, they're talented, they're confident, and they represent the kind of woman that we want to put out in our community. Well, coming from my perspective in the Department of Athletics, men's, the shorts are getting longer, right? And then the toys are getting a little more evolved. We used to travel men's basketball, and we'd have a couple cars in a van, and the athletes would sit in the back seat with their huge boom boxes, and they'd just play them loudly, and I'd be driving the car just waiting to get wherever we were going. And then that evolved to the Walkmans, and then to the MP3 players, and now they have their iPods and iPhones. So I don't think the students have changed that much, just the styles and their toys have changed. And here at the university, regardless of the level of athlete we've always had quality students and quality student athletes that are just good people, and that's what makes this university so unique. Technology in the athletic department, the basketball coach when I first started working here was Jim Ravelli, and the men's basketball locker room was right next to my athletic training room, and they would have their team meetings. And in those days, when they watched film, the coaches would roll in the reel-to-reel, and they'd turn on the game film, And the coaches would leave, and you could hear the kids just laughing and picking on each other. Now our coaches are getting films instantly from previous games. They're analyzing films. They're putting them on their iPads. They're getting clips. Everything is the technology provided now is so detailed in what the coaches can do, and so much analysis of performance. It really has made an impact on athletics everywhere. Facing challenges as an athletic trainer. When I first started at USD, it was just me. For the first 9 years I was there. And so I was understaffed. I was in a tiny space, and resources were low. So trying to make the most of what I had was just a challenge for me all the time. I was a hoarder. I would find ways to get things done. And I always tried to treat my teams as if they were the national champion, and I would try to provide whatever resources I could, borrowing and asking for things from different professional teams in town, for instance. Well, one of the things I've noticed since I've started here is the diversity of this campus has really expanded, and that's been a really important component for athletics also. Our men's basketball team, men's football team, women's basketball, we have so many different cultures that are represented, and even on my staff we have a lot of diversity, and I think that that's a gift that we're giving to the university and we're giving to all of our students, is exposing diversity and giving opportunities to some students that might not if they weren't an athlete. When I first started at USD, the recruiting tool for men's basketball was, we will have a facility in 5 years. That came in 1978. We did not have a new facility in 1983. So fast forward, it took to the year 2000 to get the Jenny Craig Pavilion. And it was a much anticipated and needed facility on campus. And I was so involved with the plans for my area and where the location of my athletic training room would be, and how I needed an outdoor entrance and indoor entrance. They gave me my footprint and I could design it. And I just remember on the groundbreaking and finding the architect saying, "Where is my athletic training room?" And he took me over to the spot, and I stood there and I said, "This is going to be great." And I had windows. I'd never had windows before. But it has provided such a great venue for not only our men's and women's basketball teams and our volleyball team, but also for many events on campus, including our commencements and the Dalai Lama and many other great events that are there. An athletic trainer is involved in the health care of the student athlete. So we take care of them from prevention, starting with their pre-participation physical exam, working through all of their practices. We cover all their contests. We provide the immediate care and first aid. When they're hurt, we do their evaluations. We determine what referrals, if any, need to be done. The orthopedic surgeon is our typical referral for an athletic injury. And he or she decides surgery or not, immobilization or not, rehabilitation or not, and then we rehabilitate the injuries. And part of what I really love about what we do is that full circle of care of injuries happen. They happen, it's part of it. And I've learned with my student athletes that we don't dwell on it, you can't change it, it's happened. So now we have to start forward on it. And my wins and losses are getting my student athletes back on the quarter field. And concussions are a hot topic right now. And it is, I hate concussions. but it's, your protocols are so detailed, you have to be so careful with them. But no one really knows what a concussion is, because there's no single diagnostic tool that we can use right now to diagnose a concussion based on symptoms. So it's really challenging. In terms of making those hard calls with student athletes and with coaches, when I first started in 1978, there were very few female athletic trainers, and I was one of the few first head athletic trainers as a female. What made it worse was I was 5'2", and I had John Cunningham, who did not think a woman could do the job. I had Jim Bravelli, that was, women don't work in athletics, period. So making those hard decisions and running out on the football field and having a referee ask me what I'm doing out there. But so that was part of the early challenges, was establishing that this is my job, that's what I'm doing out there. But with the coaches and with what I do, I feel that my education, training, and experience has given me the confidence I need to say, Coach, they're in or they're out. And I'm lucky that I have that respect from the coaches, that I'm not challenged if I've made that decision. The university really hasn't changed in their core values. An independent Catholic university with all of those virtues, that has stayed the same. And right now our motto is the USD way. We've always had the USD way because the university has always hired wonderful people, and the university is about the people that are there, and the ones that don't fit in don't stay, and the ones that do help create this culture of care that we have for our students and love for each other, really. The one person that has influenced me the most here at the University of San Diego was Tom Burke. Tom Burke was the athletic director in 1978, and it was just part of his job. He was dean of students then, but they just tacked on athletic director, and he was the individual that gave me a chance when Larry Roberts left for the NBA. I came up from a program where there were women working in it, not realizing that having a female athletic trainer was not the norm. But when John Cunningham and Jim Bravelli were against having a female athletic trainer, Tom Burke was the one that said, well, then you cannot be involved in the decision. And he was unbiased, he had the foresight, and I really think that he believed in me and gave me the opportunity because of what I was, not my gender. So I will forever be indebted to Tom Burke for giving me this opportunity, because it's changed my life, it's defined my life, and you know, I've grown professionally, and now I'm growing older, and it's all because of him. Favorite place on campus, I have to say, is the Jenny Craig Pavilion. It's the jewel of the athletic department. I know we have Fowler Park right now, but my facility is in the Jenny Craig, and I think that I'm one of the lucky athletic trainers in our conference in the United States, that when I walk in that door every day, you know, I take pride in that room, and I take pride in what we produce in that room. So selfishly, it's my athletic training room. I love working football because it challenges my skills, and it keeps me good at my emergency care skills. And that's one of the important things to me, is making sure that in an emergency situation that my athletes have the best quality care and the best chance for good care and disposition after when they get hurt. And injuries do happen, and we've had some scary ones, we've had some bad ones. So that's why I love football. Plus, the game is fun to watch. Men's basketball comes with the territory when you're the head athletic trainer. You know, I could delegate now that I have a staff, but it's something I've just done for a lot of years, and I've established a great rapport with the student athletes, especially year to year. And I've gone from being Carolyn to Miss Carolyn to Mama Torero to all kinds of, so. The athletes were always very open, and I think that once the athlete knew that you were there to take care of them, it didn't matter what your gender was. There were a couple situations where a lot of the host institutions are not used to having a female, or at that time were not used to having a female athletic trainer. An example is playing at Cal in men's basketball, and we arrived, and the athletic training room was in the locker room, and the visiting team room was in the men's locker room, but they had a segregated program. So for me to get down to the locker room and the visiting team athletic training room to tape my team and get ready, they had to escort me out the building, around the back, through the fire entrance to get in. And so of course, when I wanted to go out on the court, I just walked through everything to get out there. So facilities at some places created a problem, or you're taping right in the middle of the locker room, and the athletes are changing all around. Other resistance is the referees. Being at Utah State with Jim Bravelli, the facilities people came up to me and said, "You're so lucky to travel with your dad on a road trip." And I said, well, that's not my dad. He's the head coach. He goes, "Oh, are you a cheerleader?" "No, I'm the athletic trainer." So that being one of the first women athletic trainers and being visible in different places, that was a little bit of a challenge. But when I first got certified as an athletic trainer, about 5% of the membership for the NATA, National Athletic Trainers Association, were women, 95% men. And women in the collegiate setting were hired, but only to work with women's sports. So to hire a female to work, number one, with men's sports, and number two, as a head athletic trainer was extremely rare. Now the membership's about 50-50, but in terms of head athletic trainers, it's still around 15% for NC2A. So, but on the road when we travel with football, we have limited staff compared to a lot of institutions. So usually it's me, one other certified athletic trainer, and one athletic training student. So our emergency care is different on the road than it is at home, where I have 2 team physicians, a staff of students, other certified athletic trainers. So we are very good at practicing our emergency care and putting something into place. So we were at Drake, and a player went down kind of on the other side of the field, about the 30-yard line, and he was supine, he was face up, but his eyes were open, but his eyeballs were pointing different directions. So the first person out there was me, and the first person always stabilizes the head. So I'm at the head, and I start talking to the student athlete, and he's starting to come around. So he went from like kind of being out to like responding a little bit. But all I had to do was tap my head, and my staff that was with me went into motion, and we took this student athlete and we spine boarded him. There were paramedics there, and the paramedics came over and said, "Are you okay at the head?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm good at it. Yes, I'm fine." So we got him packaged. He was semi-conscious. We got him on the spine board on the gurney and in the truck to go to the emergency room with my assistant. And the head athletic trainer at Drake said, "That went really well." And I just said, "That's because we practice." It's just one signal made that go into motion. And fortunately, he did very well. We've had some serious knee injuries where the knee, not the kneecap, is dislocated. And one at Butler and one here at home. And those are not only challenging for transport and what we're going to do, but their surgery and their rehabilitation is long and involved and takes years, actually. What makes a good student athlete is the character of the students here at USD, and that filters over to the student athletes. But our student athletes are disciplined, and they're respectful, and they're good communicators. And we have a good relationship that we can explain what is going on, and we set our short-term goals and long-term goals. And some student athletes, we might not get the long-term goal. They might have a career-ending injury, and that happens. But you have to work with them day to day, and my job is to come ready to work every day because I expect them to work every day. And if I don't come in with that positive energy, and here's what we're going to do, they're not going to respond. It's probably just like coaching. You're only as fast as your lead horse, and you have to take the student athletes in rehab and lead them. Our athletic training room is an open environment. The treatment tables are side by side. So it's a nice place where the student athletes can commingle with athletes of other sports. And an ACL on a women's soccer player is working side by side with the ACL on the football team. And they compete, they compare, they work together, and it kind of creates almost a competition within the athletic training room, and they encourage each other, and and they finish their rehab and let's do abs, and they get on the floor and they do abs and try to challenge each other. So it's a great environment, my athletic training room. I'm active with the NATA, National Athletic Trainers Association, and then our district is the Far West Athletic Trainers Association. But I take pride in the athletic training program at San Diego State University, and I'm very active in going over there and teaching and providing workshops for the students in that facility. So we actually get 10 students a year to do internships from their program. So it's important to me that we give back to that program, not only providing clinical rotation here at USD and experience, but going over there and my area that they like me to lecture in is I teach the spine boarding and emergency care. I teach the sudden death and athletics lecture, but I do a lot of the manual therapy lectures and labs over there also. When I do retire, I hope that the student athletes and members of our campus community just remember that I cared so much